And welcome to the SFP News Desk. Yes, I'm playing the music from the Cornbread Man Morning Show. Well, I do like that song a lot, but we're kind of making the morning show tonight show, as this show is being recorded and will be aired either tonight or first thing in the morning. So we're kind of redoing some things on the news desk. We're just redoing. We're going to be having a Monday through Friday, I'm bringing the MAGA Minute portion into a new show, which is really the news desk. It's just not a long show, but it's a morning bite called the SFP News Nation. And we're going to encompass several things into that program, but be just a few minutes. But within that will be the MAGA Minute, which is usually aired daily or almost daily. We're going to try to make that consistently Monday through Friday as we really change and we become more uh, news in some of our reporting. We're going to have a daily news, and we always have our Sunday news. And this will be not a chatting show, but a news show. And we'll still have our political discussions, our news discussions. Those will just be in other shows. But the SFP News Desk is a news program, and we're going to discuss news. Although we may have some commentary, we're reporting news. That's what we want to do. So this will be a place that we have news interviews with different people that are involved in the news, whether it be politicians or people that are voters, people involved in elections, or whatever it may be. So, Dave in the AM, your host, aka the Cornbread Man. So, hence the Cornbread Morning Show, which this show will be airing very late tonight. So, it may be like a show. Well, let's go through some news and we'll talk about some of the things that are going on. Very busy week to 2 weeks that has been happening in the U.S. with many different things occurring on the Washington level, on the diplomatic front, obviously, and some ongoing stories that are out there from some of the states as we get closer to the 2026 midterms. There'll be a lot of action that is going on as political parties are amping up and gearing up and stories are going up. Let's look at the Middle East first. Israel has been now said they're going to root out Hamas completely from Gaza, take that area over, but that they will not maintain it, but they want to root Hamas out, and so they've alerted hospitals to be ready for a lot of people that will be brought to them because of ongoing fighting. So a lot of evacuations. There'll be some people moved. But in the midst of this, the Houthis from Yemen have been acting out again. And uh, former General Blaine Holt, this is retired U.S. Air Force Brigadier General Blaine Holt, told Newsmax on Sunday in an article by Sandy Fitzgerald that the Houthi attack was a last gasp. He goes on to say that the recent Houthi missile strike on Israel reflects a desperate proxy force taking direct orders from Tehran. Holt is a former NATO deputy military representative and current Newsmax contributor. He spoke after the Israeli Defense Forces reported that Iran-backed Houthis launched a ballistic missile with a cluster bomb warhead at Israeli territory late Friday. The attack prompted Israeli retaliatory strikes on Houthi positions in Yemen. Well, so this is the gasping, he says, the last gap of a regime or a proxy group that has now lost its funding, lost its supply chains, its logistics, but is still very much getting orders from Tehran, he told Newsmax's Sunday agenda. Fight or resist, throw anything at Israel you possibly can. So that's exactly what they're going to do. Israel is not going to be bashful about returning the favor and going back after them. He cautioned that the missile attack could widen the war. The thing that we should watch, he goes on to say, is for a wider expansion of the war because Gaza is about to be taken over by the Israelis, Holt said. In total, Hamas will be gone. So what do you think you could do with 60,000 reservists looking southward at Yemen? So what we want to see is probably U.S. assistance and intelligence in getting Yemen to knock it off. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has pledged to defeat Hamas militarily. According to reports, more than 16,000 Palestinians have already fled Gaza this month. Hospitals in northern Gaza have been warned by Israeli authorities to prepare for mass evacuations as the conflict intensifies. Meanwhile, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, otherwise known as UNRWA, has documented severe shortages of food, fuel, and medicine in Gaza. While reporting that humanitarian convoys face restrictions, Israeli officials, however, maintain they are permitting controlled deliveries through checkpoints and accuse Hamas of diverting aid for military use. Holt argued that Israelis' humanitarian efforts, are overlooked. Quote, "It's a disappointment that the Arab world is not taking in their own people as refugees, and everybody's just putting the burden on Israel," end quote, he said. Goes on to quote, "But I don't know of any nation in history that has done as much to feed the population of their enemy as Israel does in Gaza. This does not seem to be recognized, but Israel is going out of its way to take care of the civilian population so they can focus on Hamas." So as we see this conflict rise, there's going to be lots of news coming out of that region as they prepare to take on Hamas and root them out, and then decisions to be made in the future of Gaza. Stay tuned. In an article at Zero Hedge by Tyler Durden, kind of an update on an ongoing story from California. Much is going on in California, but from the fires and the land there, there's an article here talking about foreign investment in the area. The title of this article says, "Now comes the California fire sale. China-based companies buying up land incinerated by firestorm." It says, if foreign corporations want to buy burned out properties, can those sales be stopped? Should they be stopped? When the feared firestorm hit Pacific Palisades, Malibu, and Altadena in Southern California last January, the Los Angeles mayor was MIA, the public safety guy in charge. The vice mayor was on home confinement for making an anti-Israel bomb threat on City Hall. Firefighters were not pre-deployed. There was no water in the reservoir, and fire hydrants went dry in the Palisades. Soon came vows by LA Mayor Karen Bass and elected officials in Malibu, Altadena, and the Palisades to streamline the rebuilding and permitting, which turned out to be a joke. Now, amid bad leadership, virtue signaling masquerading as help, incinerating fire aid money, and promises in name only, comes the fire sale. In early August came word from an exclusive story in Realtor.com that foreign investors were buying up prime lots in the burned out area of an iconic Malibu beach. Now a foreign investor has been secretly scooping up many of the burned lots on the oceanfront side of the Pacific Coast Highway, with the vision of rebuilding the mansions that dotted the coastline in the iconic beach town. Once this beach is built back and it's all brand new construction, I think it's going to be a very desirable spot for a lot of wealthy people to try to buy a beach house, said Weston Littlefield with the Weston James Group, told Realtor.com. The luxury real estate agent and his colleague, Alex Howe, have been working with the investor who has so far purchased 9 lots worth more than $65 million. But the process isn't random. The strip of homes nestled between the PCH, or Pacific Coast Highway, and the Pacific Ocean is the storied La Costa Beach. 9 of the desired lots have been sold by people who can't wait or can't afford to rebuild. And they show a listing of that in the article. Our Red State colleague, Jean Van Laer, reports that the buyers are a couple of Kiwis, New Zealanders. These businessmen are based in the once-free Hong Kong, China, to be close to their toy manufacturing empire and Guangzhou and Shenzhen. They also own a business park in Issaquah, Washington. Nick and Matt Mowbray run Zuru, a company well known for making many toys and replicas, among them Disney's 100 mini brands, the limited edition Platinum Collection to celebrate 100 years of wonder. There are over 50 platinum miniatures of your favorite Disney brands from Marvel, Pixar, and Star Wars, Mickey Mouse Friends, and more. The Mowbray brothers also run another Chinese-based company, Zuru Tech, that makes modular prefab homes made of a concrete, which they plan to use in their new Malibu real estate venture. Let's hope they're not mini homes. They show a listing of some of that news there. The article goes on to say, Jim makes a good point that the old carbon footprint of shipping all those concrete housing pieces across the ocean, it does seem contrary to those California values we keep being hectored about. Remember, this is the state, after all, that made the LADWP restore brush to save an alleged endangered weed after LAWP cleared it due to fire danger. I do not stutter. See Stunner, California saved a shrub instead of protecting humans from the LA firestorm. But back at the land grab, Yahoo News reported that one of the brokers says the investor wants to rebuild the mansions and expects the investment will turn a considerable profit with time and patience. The current estimate to get permits approved in Malibu is anywhere from 1 to 2 years. How many Malibu fire victims have the time and money to wait that long? Probably a few, but not all. Here's another question. Are California's so-called values honored by allowing foreign investors to reshape their premier and most iconic real estate of the west coast of the United States? Should stopping foreign ownership even be considered in a relatively free market? Governor Gavin Newsom signed an executive order to protect people in Altadena, parts of Malibu, and the Palisades from low-ball real estate offers while deploying greedy speculators taking advantage of their pain. Is this what buying a $10 million plus property before the fire and selling for $6 million for a beach lot is? Speculating? At Altadena, Dwell magazine reports that at least a half of the properties for sale following the devastating January fires have been purchased by corporations. However, individuals can purchase property through LLCs to limit legal exposure. The publication reports, however, that higher than the national trend, and furthermore, 42% of those sales are now held by just 6 companies, each of which has acquired 4 or more homes. Dwell reports Blackline Properties LLC, recently confirmed to be operated by Edwin Castro, the record-breaking Powerball winner. The company has quietly acquired at least a dozen fire-damaged or distressed properties in Altadena, spending nearly $9 million in the process. And an interesting side note, Castro, the top buyer in Altadena, is a local Powerball lottery winner who's putting his winnings in real estate rather than hookers, blow, and trinkets. In 2022, Castro won $2.4 billion. But by the time Uncle Sugar got his cut, the lump sum payment ended up being $997 million. He bought his parents a new home in Altadena and bought one in Malibu, which was ironically torched in the firestorm. Another company, Shinfeng Global Inc., formed in 2022, is associated with several shell-like entities related to real estate, has purchased 6 home sites in the Altadena area. The company is connected to multiple real estate entities and hints at possible international ownership, but the full picture remains murky. It sure does. A logistics company in China could be connected, but as Dwell reports, things are murky by design. California Democrats have turned down at least 3 proposed laws to limit or ban foreign ownership of large amounts of land. Assembly Bill 475 would have halted foreign land ownership within 50 miles of military installations, and Senate Bill 224 would have, had it passed, stopped foreign governments from a controlling interest in agricultural land. The legislature did pass, however, Senate Bill 1084. In 2022, that would have restricted ownership of California agricultural land. Gavin Newsom vetoed it, saying the feds were already handling the problem. The Biden administration wasn't. To what extent, if any, should California officials stop the foreign ownership of American land? Yes, indeed. The story continues, and we will keep up with it as we go forward into the future and see what happens to these lands, which are still not fully developed yet, and simply a far area. A lot of controversy there. In talking about farmland, I want to go to the Zero Hedge also with a story by Tyler Durden. USDA ends solar subsidies on American farmland. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins announced Monday that the Department of Agriculture will no longer use taxpayer dollars to fund large-scale solar or wind projects on productive farmland, nor allow solar panels made by foreign adversaries in USDA programs. The department cited farmland loss as a driving concern. Now, understand this. Here, I live close to Tennessee myself. The article goes on to say, Tennessee has lost more than 1.2 million acres in the last 30 years and could lose 2 million by 2027. Nationally, solar installations on farmland have risen nearly 50% since 2012. Our prime farmland should not be wasted and replaced with Green New Deal subsidized solar panels, Rollins said. One of the largest barriers of entry for new and young farmers is access to land. Subsidized solar farms have made it more difficult for farmers to access farmland by making it more expensive and less available. On the social media X, She added, "This destruction of our farms and prime soil is taking away the futures of the next generation of farmers and the future of our country. Starting today, USDA will no longer deploy programs to fund solar or wind projects on productive farmland, ending massive taxpayer handouts, also ending the use of panels made by foreign adversaries like China." Rollins made the announcement in Tennessee with Governor Bill Lee, Senators Marsha Blackburn and Bill Hagerty, Representative John Rose, and USDA Deputy Secretary Stephen Vodden. Lee said, quote, "Tennesseans know that our farmland is our national security, our economic future, and our children's heritage." Blackburn added, quote, "Tennessee farmland should be used to grow the crops that feed our state and country, not to house solar panels made by foreign countries," end quote. Lawmakers across the country praised the decision. Representative Glenn G.T. Thompson said, "Secretary Rollins understands that food security is national security." Representative Tom Tiffany stated, quote, "The land that feeds America should never be sacrificed or for unreliable green energy experiments subsidized by taxpayer dollars," end quote. Representative Harriet Hagman added, quote, "Our agricultural heritage is the backbone of this nation, and these common sense reforms put food security, national security, and American sovereignty first," end quote. Effective immediately, wind and solar projects are no longer eligible for the USDA's Business and Industry Guarantee Loan Program. Under the Rural Energy for America program, ground-mounted solar panels larger than 50 kW or without proof of a historic energy use will not qualify, and solar projects will no longer receive priority points for REAP grants. USDA said these changes will reduce taxpayer costs, eliminate market distortions from subsidies, and ensure renewable energy equipment in USDA projects comes from American manufacturers. Yes, we must protect the farmland of America. Shocking numbers. Let's move over to townhall.com, or actually, excuse me, I talked about under Red State, townhall.com under Red State. We've known for some time that there's been a lot of opposition within the Supreme Court, but not just on points of law. Many of the Supreme Court justices are absolutely upset with one. Can you guess who? The article says the title of the article says one Supreme Court justice has nosedived into irrelevance. Can you guess who? And the article posted Sunday, August the 24th. It talks about the Supreme Court, Ketanji Jackson Brown, who has once again come against some of the other initiatives or decisions to write her dissent, and has they've not been pleased with her. On Thursday, the Supreme Court announced its opinion in National Institutes of Health, or NIH, versus American Public Health Association. The case involved the fate of approximately $783 million in NIH research grants that were tied to DEI initiatives rather than general scientific research. By a 5-4 vote, which is very common, one court ruled that a single federal judge could not compel the federal government to spend nearly $1 billion on nonsensical pseudo-research it no longer wished to fund. The case may ultimately prove more important than the money it saved, because it indicated the Supreme Court was losing patience with inferior courts and with one of its members. Neil Gorsuch used a concurring opinion that effectively read the Right Act to lower courts. He said in his dissent, "Lower court judges may sometimes disagree with this court's decisions, but they are never free to defy them." In Department of Ed versus California, 604 U.S. 2025, this court granted a stay because it found the government likely to prevail in showing that the district court lacked jurisdiction to order the government to pay grant obligations. California explained that suits based on any express or implied contract with the United States do not belong in district court under the Administrative Procedure Act, or APA. But in the Court of Federal Claims under the Tucker Act, and he cited some points in the law there. I'm going to go on and read just what he said, though. Rather than follow that direction, the district court in this case permitted a suit involving materially identical grants to proceed to final judgment under APA. As support for its course, the district court invoked the persuasive authority of the dissents in California in an earlier Court of Appeals decision, California repudiated Massachusetts versus Kennedy. And he goes on to give page numbers. That was error, unless we wish anarchy to prevail within the federal judicial system. A precedent of this court must be followed by the lower courts, no matter how misguided the judges of the courts may think it to be. He concluded with this summary. If the district court's failure to abide by California were a one-off, perhaps it would not be willing to address it. But 2 months ago, another district court tried to compel compliance with a different order that this court had stayed, Department of Homeland Security versus DVD. Still, another district court recently diverged from one of this court's decisions, even though the case at hand did not differ, quote, in any pertinent respect, end quote, from the one this court had decided, Boyle, 606 U.S. So this is now the third time in a matter of weeks this court has had to intercede in a case, quote, squarely controlled, end quote, by one of its precedents. All these interventions should have been unnecessary, but together they underscore a basic tenet of our judicial system. Whatever their own views, judges are duty-bound to respect, quote, the hierarchy of the federal court system created by the Constitution and Congress, end quote. If anyone takes notice, the article says, of Gorsuch's concurrence, in which he was joined by Justice Kavanaugh, then perhaps we'll see resistance-minded judges become more circumspect in creating their personal jurisprudence rather than following the lead of the Supreme Court. The second salient feature was Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, again, attacked the integrity of her colleagues. I think I might have said her name backwards earlier. If I did, forgive me. And her blistering 21-page dissent did not have single justice sign-off. Justice Jackson, who seemed locked in a cage match with Justice Sotomayor for the most mediocre IQ on the Supreme Court, has previously made headlines for attacking her colleagues in Trump versus Kasich, which covered the issue of nationwide injunctions by single judges. Brown wrote this snide comment. To hear the majority tell it, this suit raises a mind-numbingly technical query. Are universal injunctions sufficiently analogous to the relief issued by the High Court of Chancery in England at the time of the adoption of the Constitution and the enactment of the original Judiciary Act? To follow the equitable authority Congress granted federal courts in the Judiciary Act of 1789? But this legalese is a smokescreen. It obscures a far more basic question of enormous legal and practical significance. May a federal court in the United States of America order the executive to follow suit? To ask this question is to answer. In a constitutional republic such as ours, a federal court has the power to order the executive court to follow the law, and it must. It is axiomatic that the Constitution of the United States and the statute that the people's representatives have enacted govern our system of government. Thus, everyone, from the president down, is bound by law. By duty of nature, federal courts say what the law is if there's a genuine dispute, and require those who are subject to the law to conform their behavior to what the law requires. This is the essence of the rule of law. To which Justice Barrett replied, we will not dwell on Justice Jackson's argument, which is at odds with more than 2 centuries worth of precedent, not to mention the Constitution itself. We observe only this. Justice Jackson decries an imperial executive while embracing an imperial judiciary. No one disputes that the executive has a duty to follow the law, but the judiciary does not have the unbridled authority to enforce this obligation. In fact, sometimes the law prohibits the judiciary from doing so. In Marbury versus Madison, she puts. Note the reference Barrett used to make her point. Even Justice Kagan did not sign on to Jackson's dissent, but 5 justices did sign on to Barrett's zingers. The rift between Jackson and her colleagues became much more pronounced in the NIH decision. Here, she continued her allegations that the majority of the court was hopelessly compromised and letting President Trump get away with murder. She goes on to say, in a broader sense, however, today's ruling is a piece with this court's recent tendencies. Right with the judiciary could be hunkering down to do all it can to preserve the law's constraints. The court opts instead to make vindicating the rule of law and preventing manifestly injurious injurious government action as difficult as possible. This is Calvin Ball jurisprudence of the twist. Calvin Ball has only one rule. There is no fixed rule. We seem to have two. That one in this administration always wins. Note that Jackson quotes from her own dissent in this dissent. This may be the first time in the history of the Supreme Court. The real question is whether Jackson is any longer an effective member of the Supreme Court. The fact that Barrett got 6 justices to sign a scathing putdown of Jackson's outcome-based jurisprudence indicates that Rubicon may have been crossed. The justices, save Sotomayor, seem to ignore Jackson and let her write whatever she wishes. As a secondary issue, I think the wisdom of Trump's Justice Department in obeying court orders and fighting them out in court rather than open defiance has proven correct. Open defiance would have united the circuit courts and the Supreme Court to defend district court judges. Now the resistance judges can't keep from ruling against Trump any more than a cat can resist catnip or a laser pointer. This extends even to cases decided by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court now has defended this position or let it be run over roughshod by TDS-infected judges. The only person, who not getting the Supreme Court of the United States unity message is Jackson. And she has lost whatever influence she may have had by lambasting her colleagues for the sake of social media clout. Yes, it seems as though that appointment is running very, very thin with the rest of the Supreme Court. Very, very telling, yes, indeed. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back, and we'll finish up our news for this evening on the SFP news desk. And let's do an ad for the SFP coffees. We're so excited about these, and thank you to those who have recently ordered them. It is very good. I may say so myself. I drink it here in the studio as well.
Hey, everybody, this is Rob and Dave from the Southern Fried Podcast. You know, we love lots of things here in the South. We love our country. We love our family. We love our God. We love some sweet tea on the front porch on Friday nights. But we're really near and dear and love us some coffee. That being said, tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock on July the 14th, yes, we will have our coffee out there. Yes.
Yeah. Awesome, man. It's been a dream come true. We talked about this before we were ever a podcast, and we love these coffees. There's 40 plus blends. You'll find something that you like. And most people like coffee. If you don't, I can't help you, but most people like coffee, and there's a lot of coffee here. In fact, our morning show, we say get up, pray up, and coffee up, because we start our day with coffee, and now you can get some for you. Hey, we're very patriotic here. Get some for your veteran friends. You know what? Bless them. And the coffee mugs you see are representatives of logos that we've made. We've got more coming. We're going to put those on coffee mugs, and you'll see our SFP brand there, logo on each coffee. And these prices, Rob, we kept them as reasonable as we can. We cut that margin down because we know times are tough, and we want to help people and put coffee in their home and all of our listeners and followers home. And I'm proud of this. So big kickoff, Rob. Excited about it.
Absolutely. And hey, y'all, there's no shipping cost on this either. You do not have to pay for shipping. It's already, everything's done. You just go with it. So the price you see,
the QR code works. Just scan it, and and also off of our site, our coffee store, 2 or 3 of our social sites are also linked there. And you can find some of if you don't know where we're located, you can find us there. And come get some coffee. We got plenty.
Absolutely. The SFP coffee, we have multiple blends. Those are just some of the blends that we have listed. We thank you also for making the switch to Patriot Mobile using promo code Cornbread. It's also one of our official sponsors of the SFP News Desk. We have many others. All right, let's continue on. Couple more articles, and I want to end with a commentary about Cracker Barrel using an article that was written, and I find it very worthwhile. Recently, there was information about the DOJ and some interviews that they had did with Ghislaine Maxwell. There's a headline at Fox News, and this has been coming out. Some of the reports, some of it has not been revealed, but some of it has. Maxwell says this article by Emma Colton says, quote, Maxwell says she never saw Trump do anything inappropriate, new DOJ docs reveal. Jeffrey Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell told the Department of Justice earlier in 2025 that she never saw President Donald Trump act inappropriately, according to DOJ documents released Friday of her interview. Quote, I think they were friendly like people in social settings. I don't think they were close friends, or I certainly never witnessed the president in any of. I don't recall ever seeing him in his house, for instance, she told the DOJ. Quote, I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any appropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche interviewed Epstein associate Maxwell at the Federal Correctional Institution in Tallahassee, Florida, in July, where she has been serving a 20-year prison sentence for sex trafficking. The interview was held across a 2-day period, with the administration weighing in August whether to release the audio file and transcript of the interview. Senior administration officials previously told Fox Digital. Maxwell explained in her interviews that she first met Trump in the 1990s through her father, saying Trump was, quote, always very cordial and very kind to me, end quote. Quote, well, I just want to say from my relationship with President Trump, the relationship's a big word, but I just want to say that I met him, or I believe I may have, because of my father in the 90s, end quote, she said. Quote, Trump was always very cordial and very kind to me, end quote, she continued. And all I just want to say that I admire his extraordinary achievement in becoming the president now. And I like him, and I've always liked him. So that is the sum and substance of my entire relationship with him, end quote. As for Epstein's relationship with Trump, Maxwell said she only ever witnessed the pair interacting in social settings, and that she was unsure how they struck up a friendly association. Quote, I don't know how they met, and I don't know how they became friends, she told Blanche. I certainly saw them together, and I remember a few times I observed them together, but they were very friendly. I mean, they seemed friendly. Quote, I believe I only ever saw them in social settings, she continued. I don't recall any private settings. Epstein was a notorious predator who pleaded guilty to procuring underage girls for prostitution in 2008, before he was arrested in 2019 on new federal charges of sex trafficking minors and conspiracy to engage in sex trafficking of minors. The predatory billionaire, who had rubbed elbows with the world's elite, stretching from Bill Gates to being photographed with Trump long before his presidency, was found dead in his New York City jail cell in August 2019 by an apparent suicide. Maxwell continued in her DOJ interviews that she last saw Trump in the mid-2000s in a social setting. When pressed if Maxwell had ever heard rumors or witnessed Trump do anything inappropriate with masseuses or with anybody in their world, she gave a firm denial. Quote, absolutely never in any context, end quote, she responded. Toward the end of her interview, Maxwell asked Blanche to add to the record that she believes Trump was, quote, swept into, end quote, the controversy surrounding Epstein. She said, quote, I just would like to put out there that I also focused on how I think the president got swept into some of this unnecessarily, by the way, she said. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I certainly don't subscribe to all of everything that I see. But I do believe that this is animus in some areas that may have contributed to how the use of the president to harm him. And I find that, that I find deeply offensive, end quote. Goes on to say, quote, and whilst I can obviously say definitively that is what it is, I would like to show you what I see so that you can evaluate it and do with it as you see fit if it needs to be addressed. I've seen it, struck me, and I would like to give it to you. She continued before Blanche agreed with her request. The interview wrapped for the day. Maxwell weighed in on Epstein's 50th birthday book, which included people sending him cards in 2003. But she said she did not recall Trump sending Epstein a card and reported she had no evidence of such a card in her discovery of legal proceedings. The DOJ and FBI said in a joint memo in July that the two agencies had no further information to share with the public about Epstein's case and death, determining he died by suicide, and that there was no list of clients whom Epstein may have procured by exploitation by third parties. The memo said of condemnation from some MAGA supporters who said the reports would not make the Epstein scandal disappear and continued calling for documents to be released. Such supporters claimed that Epstein did not hang himself and that the death was allegedly part of a bigger cover-up of protecting the elites allegedly involved in the sexual abuse of minors. Trump repeatedly has slammed the Epstein case as a hoax promoted by the Democrats, including chastening reporters who asked him about the matter when the FBI and DOJ first reported evidence showing Epstein committed suicide. Quote, for years it's Epstein over and over again, end quote, Trump said in a July Truth Social post. Why are we giving publicity to files written by Obama, Crooked Hillary, Comey, Brennan, and the losers and criminals of the Biden administration? End quote. They created the Epstein files just like they created the fake Hillary Clinton, Christopher Steele dossier that they used on me, and now my so-called friends are playing right into their hands, Trump wrote. Why didn't these radical left lunatics release the Epstein files? If there was anything in there that could have hurt the MAGA movement, why didn't they use it? End quote. Amid mounting calls from voters for the government to release more details on Epstein, Trump instructed the Justice Department in July to release, quote, all credible evidence in the files. We would like to release everything, but we don't want people to get hurt that shouldn't be hurt. So I would assume that was why he was there, he told Newsmax in July. The White House referred Fox News Digital to Trump's public comments earlier Friday when asked about the Maxwell interview drop. Quote, innocent people shouldn't be hurt, but I'm in support of keeping it totally open, Trump told the media Friday, of keeping the Epstein case open. I couldn't care less. You've got a lot of people that it could be mentioned in those files that don't deserve to be. People because he knew everybody in Palm Beach. This is a Democratic hoax to try and get the significance of what we've done over the past 7 months, he added. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. They say it's number one in history. What we've done, including stopping 7 wars, So we will see. This controversy continues to gain traction, but at the same time, nothing new really comes from it. All right, another article that I'm going to close with a commentary on the Cracker Barrel controversy, just quickly. In 1819 News from the great state of Alabama, an article by Case Dixon, America First must mean what it says. She goes on to say, America First, every politician and candidate says it, but few actually mean it. Too many are quick to carve out exceptions. This ally, that conflict, one more special case. That's not America First. That's politics as usual. George Washington saw this problem more than 200 years ago, warning in his farewell address about the dangers of getting too attached to other nations. A passionate attachment of one nation for another produces a variety of evils. Betrays the former into a participation in the quarrels of wars of the latter without adequate inducement or justification, Washington wrote. In plain English, when America picks favorites, we get dragged into other countries' conflicts, and those fights rarely serve our own interests. Just look at the last few decades. We spent 20 years in the Middle East, and what do we get? Trillions of dollars wasted. The region is still a mess, and America is weaker for it. The cost isn't just money either. It was paid in the lives of America's sons and daughters who should never have been sent into those wars in the first place. That's the danger of foreign aid. It's not just the billions borrowed and spent. It's that sending aid is the first step toward entanglement. When we fund another nation's battle, sooner or later the call comes to send American troops to finish the fight. That's how America keeps getting dragged into wars that have nothing to do with the defending our homeland. And here we are again. Tens of billions sent overseas annually, more weapons shipped out, more talk of foreign conflicts while our own nation drowns in debt. Congress acts like America's job is to bankroll the whole world. Meanwhile, our national debt has blown past $37 trillion. Families can't keep up with the cost of living, and young couples wonder if they can even afford to start families. That's not national security. That's national suicide. Here's the truth nobody in D.C. wants to admit. Every time we ship weapons abroad, we take on the responsibility for how they're used. If they end up in the wrong hands or turned on civilians, America bears that stain. Every time we fund one side of the conflict, we inherit that nation's enemies as our own. We don't just spend money, we buy into fights that were never ours. And let's not forget, we still have many troops deployed abroad right now, long after various wars were supposedly over. Every one of them is an American life at risk, not for defending our homeland, but for propping up a foreign nation. Real national security isn't found in the sand dunes halfway across the world. It's found in rebuilding our economy, in restoring our military readiness here at home, in making sure that when and only when America truly needs to defend itself, we are strong and united enough to do it. A nation that tries to fight for everyone else cannot stand ready to defend itself. That's why America First must finally mean what it says. No exceptions. Every nation is responsible for its own defense, just as we are for ours. The minute Congress starts making carve-outs, the principle is dead, because once D.C. makes an exception for one nation, it will make an exception for another. And before long, we're right back to blank checks and foreign entanglements. True allies respect strength. They don't depend on us to foot their bills forever. And the longer America plays global policeman, the weaker we get here at home. Every dollar we don't spend on a foreign war is a dollar we don't have to borrow. Every soldier we don't send into another nation's conflict is a son or daughter who comes home alive. Amen. That's not weakness. That's real strength. That's real security. It's time to bring our troops home. It's time to stop writing blank checks to foreign governments. It's time to start putting American families, American workers, and American soldiers first. That's not isolationism. That's common sense. And it's the only way America survives in the long run. Washington's words ring louder today than ever before. He knew that foreign attachments would corrupt our politicians and weaken our country. 2 centuries later, his warning has come true. The question is whether we'll finally listen. America stands at a crossroads. One path is the same path we've been on. Endless wars, endless debt, endless exceptions. The other path is the one our founders laid out: independence, strength, and loyalty to our own people above all others. The choice should be clear: for our security, our prosperity, and our children's future, America First must finally mean just that. Case Dixon is a licensed physical therapist and Republican candidate for U.S. Congress in Alabama's 6th District. Well said, Case Dixon. Well said. I applaud it. I end tonight, or this morning, whenever you hear this, with the story about, yes, the new Cracker Barrel logo and changing the way Cracker Barrel looks inside. In a story on USA Today by Corey Woodruff, he says, the terrible new Cracker Barrel logo sums up everything wrong with rebranding. The article goes on to say the recent Cracker Barrel interior remodeling process has generated a lot of ire, and justifiably so. Rather than keep the rustic charm of a dusty old southern kitchen where the smell of country ham and stovetop biscuits coats the air, walls adorned with busted farming equipment and Rockwellian photos from a bygone era, American era, the new remodels look like joyless first watch knockoffs. We get changing with the times, but this is the Cracker Barrel, for crying out loud. You want to improve the Cracker Barrel? Up the game on the food options. Don't take away the one thing that makes it worthy of nostalgia. It's aura. You go to the Cracker Barrel with your grandparents early on a Tuesday morning in the summer before going to Costco. You play checkers with your brother by the fireplace on a cold winter night while your family waits for the meal. You sit in the rocking chairs on the porch during a confusingly long wait for Saturday brunch. You run over to that mechanical toy parrot who records what you say and repeats it in the gift shop and tell it a potty word for some poor sap to hear once you scurry away giggling like an idiot. That's the Cracker Barrel, folks. That's America. The rebranded logo cements what a travesty this is to undo the foundation of a proud chain restaurant tradition. No longer is it an old country store. No longer is there a friendly man reclining in a wooden chair. No longer is there even a barrel. It's the Cracker Barrel. Where's the barrel? Now it's just a big yellow blob designed by first-year graphic design students studying minimalism. That stinks. I'm sorry, but it stinks. Why do we have to change the Cracker Barrel logo? The sunny designs chase the poppy casual brunch vibes of Maple Street Biscuit Company, another broken egg cafe, Those are a dime a dozen. They're not the Cracker Barrel. What's next? A hip modern spin on the Waffle House? That's not what Cracker Barrel is. Cracker Barrel is supposed to feel like yesterday, like a wooden time capsule back to a time where your mom would complain to the waiter that your table is way too close to the smoking section, and bacon was considered a side dish to go with a huge stack of pancakes, made to order eggs, and cinnamon apples. Oh, yes. It's the place where you and your grandma go get a quick bite to eat before going to the movies, or the place where a top 10 table is needed, or excuse, a 10 top table is needed because your entire family decided to show up for an impromptu supper one random night. No, we didn't go to the Cracker Barrel for a Michelin star. Heck, we often didn't even go there for great food unless you were ordering from the breakfast menu. You went because it's the only place your family could agree to eat after church, or we went because O'Charlie's was way too crowded. We went because it was there. It's still there, sure, but it's not there anymore. The menu names still retain a bit of that southern spark, but one click of the main page of its Wednesday evening advertises a new herb roasted chicken dish. Herb roasted chicken? Excuse me, this is the Cracker Barrel. I'm supposed to eat food that would offend my doctor. Thank you very much. Southern food isn't supposed to be good for you, and Cracker Barrels aren't supposed to make you feel influencer bright and TikTok cookbooky. The old-timey atmosphere was always comforting. Where else can you get rocking chairs, fireplaces, and random grist mill parts on the wall? The Cracker Barrel was and never will be a great restaurant in the same way a signature Jose Andres restaurant is. For one, you seek the best fine dining. For another, you just want to feel like home. Trying to adapt to the modern age is what medicine and transportation are for, not the Cracker Barrel. Some things really don't need to change. If you need us, we'll be sulking at a hopefully unremodeled Cracker Barrel over a country boy breakfast, yes, with biscuits and cornbread. If we ask for an old menu, it's because we don't want to use the new one. I applaud you, sir. It's a great article. I appreciate it. Love the Cracker Barrel. We don't go there because we're looking for something to change or be made modern. We go there simply because it reminds us of who we are. We're Southerners, and we do like that food, and we do like that store, and we do like those things on the wall. And yes, we do like those rocking chairs on the front porch. As we here at the Southern Fried Podcast, we talk about all of these things. Cornbread, the front porch, Southern foods. Absolutely. And yes, we love that country boy breakfast. Don't do it, Cracker Barrel. Are you going to become another restaurant in the dustbins of former restaurants that we'll be talking about in the decades to come to our grandchildren and great-grandchildren about the great Cracker Barrel restaurant? If you do these changes, you're doomed. Southern people will not go there anymore, and largely. I've already talked to many of my friends and family and church members, and they say they're done. Is that really what you want to do? I hope not. I love the Cracker Barrel. It's a place we always go. We're traveling for sure. We love that Sunday chicken. Oh, the fried chicken. Yes, it's not good for you, but we love it. Hey, that's Dave in the AM, aka the Cornbread Man, with the Southern SFP or Southern Fried News Desk. Remember, we're making some slight changes, and we'll continue to do those as we try to make things the best we can here at the SFP. We'll see you soon. We'll go out with some music, and I might just play that Cornbread Man song again. I do like it. And we're going to create a new song, a new format for the SFP News Desk, and we're looking forward to that. So somewhere here is the Cornbread Man. I don't know if this is the one or not, but we'll try it. We'll see. I don't remember which one. I've got them labeled, but I don't remember which one. It's okay. We'll see you soon.